Okay my friends, so today let's recreate this map that we see the Night King and all these pros playing. So basically, this rotor, this object spins faster and faster. Unfortunately, we don't have a link to this workshop map. If you guys know it, please share in the comment section down below. But anyway, let's have a look at how this can be recreated, how we can do something like this. In Hammer it's actually very easy, you don't even need to use scripts or anything. Okay, so here you can see the objects. And it begins to spin slowly and then faster, and then if you just touch it, you fall down and you die. Now all you need to add is simply a prop dynamic, that is the object that's going to be rotating. You also need a func rotating entity, a logic timer so that every second you increase the speed of the rotation, and then you also need a math counter so that you that way can maintain the value of the variables and increase the rotation value every second, and then assign that value to the speed of the func rotating object. This is going faster, and I think this is maximum speed if I'm not mistaken. And the prop dynamic must be non-solid, and instead, to push it, you are going to be using a trigger push as well as a trigger hurt. So this one is just a prop static, the one in the middle. It's a prop static, then we have the platforms and the spawn points. Here it is this other one. This is a prop dynamic override, because this is an object that's not dynamic by default, so we have to use a prop dynamic override. Now here in the center you have this func rotating entity. We're going to give it a name, and you have to determine the maximum speed at which this is going to rotate. Friction I set it to 100. When it accelerates and decelerates, how much friction there will be. So there will be some deceleration, that's what I want. Starts on obviously, and accelerate and decelerate. So then the next thing is that on this prop dynamic override, you have to select the rotor as the parent of it. Now when you select the rotor, one very important thing is on tools press T, because for example if the origin is somewhere like around here, then this is where this object is going to rotate around. So you always want to make sure to center origin and then set origin to pivot like that. This is very important. Now on the prop dynamic override, I also made it non-solid, because otherwise players can get stuck and we don't want that. So instead I added two triggers. Trigger push, this is what's going to push the player to the right whenever it gets touched, and obviously you have to parent the trigger push to the rotor, and in case the push direction is different, you just have to press R and rotate it so they pushes in the direction that you want. You don't want to touch these values right here, just leave it 0, 0, 0. Just rotate the object and that will be out of it. And then not only a trigger push, we also want to use a trigger hurt, parent this trigger hurt to the rotor, and here you determine how much damage player should take. So I wanted to take 10 damage, so little damage, and the damage type, so generic, with like a bullet, like burn, wherever it is, so I left it generic. And another very important thing is, remember that we set the maximum rotation speed to 1000, so this is also the starting speed, unless you change it. So that is why I've added this logic auto, and so on map spawn, target the rotor, set speed to 0. Now notice that this is the maximum rotation speed, so this cannot go over that value. It is the starting speed unless you set the speed on map spawn to 0. The next entity that we need is obviously a logic timer, a refire interval. So every 1 second I want the speed to be increased. On timer we're going to target the math counter and we're going to add 0.01. If you enter 1, equates to the maximum speed, so 1000, we don't want that. And 0 is stop. So we want to increase the value every second to 0.01 of the maximum speed. And here we have the math counter, just give it a name, math counter. And obviously the minimum value is 0, the maximum value has to be 1. Because remember that's the way the rotor works. So 0 stops, 1 is the maximum speed, and anything in between is what's going to make the rotor accelerate. What's going to happen is that the timer is going to increase the value of this math counter at 0.01, great. So what we're going to do with the math counter is out value, so anytime the logic timer updates the value of the math counter, is going to force this value, out value. So check this out, fired when the counter value changes. So when the counter value changes, we want to target the rotor and we're going to set the speed. And you don't want to pass any value, because that way the value that's going to be passed is the value that the math counter itself is holding. So the math counter just holds a variable, a value that goes from 0 to 1. And here you can see more clarification on set speed of the rotor. Sets the speed as a ratio of the specified max rotation speed. 0 is stopped and 1 is the max rotation speed. Negative values rotate backwards. And so that's the secret to make a fan or some kind of blade to spin faster and faster every second. Look at that. And faster. Now I'm gonna touch it right now. See, it pushed me a little bit and down I go. So this is the way, guys. In case you would like to test this map as well, you can subscribe to it. It's going to be linked to the workshop in the description of this video. And if you would like the VMap as well, I'm going to make it available to all of you in the description of this video. Thanks, guys.